When I arrived in the UK nearly 8 years ago, I was a big consumer of cold pressed juice based on a health journey I had been on, and kind of couldn't believe that there was really nothing happening in this space. Most of the juices that were out on the market were heat pasteurized and full of essentially what was all fruit sugar. And really, it just kind of became glaringly obvious to me with what was happening in the UK. It was the time of the Olympics. Boutique fitness studios were opening up, and it just felt like there wasn't really a drink or a juice that was serving this market, and the kind of growing needs for something a bit healthier, lower sugar. So although our drinks, taste is absolutely at the forefront of everything that we do, and I think it's not so dissimilar from food. It really all comes down to the ingredients that you choose that go into it. And at Plenish, we use only organic, sustainable, and fresh ingredients, whether that's organic nuts that we kind of really work closely with our co-op of farmers to select to make sure that they're not bitter, and that they're roasted to perfection before we make the milk from them, or when we're using our juices, just making sure that the actual raw material is best in class will always end up in a better tasting product. And it really comes down to the mixology and really spending a lot of time and making sure that your process is right. And it does take a lot of work, and it's sometimes often a bit more expensive to do when you're using the best in class ingredients, but at the end of the day, it is what's going to drive that taste. Yeah, I think, lots of new businesses want to talk about disruption, but really I think the first key piece and the most essential in order to be successful is coming up with a product or service that is of the utmost integrity. And if you've got the product right, if it's made in our example for our drinks, if it's made from the best ingredients and made with the highest integrity process, then if you've got that kind of flavor and understand really what the consumer wants and the consumer needs, and you can marry those two, then that is really the winning formula in my experience. There's so much out there at the moment. The wellness space is growing exponentially, and there's a lot of people coming into the space trying to, essentially offer a Me Too situation. So if you really want to disrupt it, I think there's really two ways. You either kind of do something, but you do it better and differently, or you have complete innovation and are starting something really, really new. And they both have their benefits. If you're starting something new, you have to really think about how much education is going to go into, talking to consumers and getting them to understand what it is that you are making or selling, which is a great role to play in, because if you do it well and you do it right, you can very easily be the kind of market leader. The challenge with that is that, education takes a long time, and it's really expensive to do. If you don't have big budgets for advertising and TV and out of home, that can be really, really challenging, and it can take a very, very long time. If you're going into a category or a service that already exists, sometimes it's a bit easier. And if you kind of take a look and say, okay, what are these people doing and doing right, but what needs are still unmet for the consumer? And that can be either a different format, it could be that the product is just better, but that's the kind of thing that you'll then have to educate that customer on. And then really it's about kind of just speaking to consumers in a meaningful and relevant way, which means you have to understand, again, who your target consumer is and what their needs are. So a bit of research and getting out there and actually talking to the people who are buying your product or service, understanding how they're using it, and then making sure that your innovation pipeline and your way of marketing is really relevant to them and helping them serve a need. Because, people will care about your business only if it helps them. And that's kind of what I think is the center of every business, and then how we built our business. It's always been very consumer centric, and everything we do, whether it's a piece of marketing or it's a new product development, I kind of ask myself, why would somebody care? And if you can't answer that question and feel really strongly that they will care, then your answer probably is, come up with something else. So I think the kind of online marketing mix is always changing, and we're always trying to test and scale and move away from things that don't work and do more of what does. For us, email's been really, really successful. So we have a direct-to-consumer business, but we also sell through retailers. So being able to, communicate to your customers and giving them content that's relevant to them, and being able to, tell them about new products, new services, has been probably one of our most successful channels, and it's kind of it's always a hard one because there's lots of ways to acquire emails, but actually it's not about the volume, it's about the quality. And so making sure that whatever you do, whether it's an event, whether it's actually selling something at a point of sale, can you collect emails from people that are actually buying and interested in your product, because those are going to be the ones that are going to be the most valuable. We also do a lot of social media, so it's probably especially if you're starting a new business, the least expensive and highest impact way of really kind of demonstrating your brand and all that it has to offer. I think the social media space is a little bit less of a hard product sell and a little bit about really educating people on what it is about your brand. I always think of the social media space as when your brand is a person, how do they speak, what do they look like in terms of images, and really what is it exactly that you want to say. I think consumers are taking a much more holistic approach to wellness, and it's less about what do I need to take out of my diet, but more about what kind of positive additions can I put into my diet. And that's really the kind of biggest overall shift that we're seeing. And I think a lot of that's driven by, we all are super, super busy, and it's near impossible to stop everything, completely overhaul everything at once, coffee intake, calories, or, cutting back on indulgences. And I think what people really want to do in terms of that holistic view is figure out healthy things that they can do to add into their life. So whether that's squeezing in an exercise class, or whether that's swapping out dairy for almond milk, in their tea in the morning, or that's, cutting back on meat, a couple times a week. We've really seen that Meat-Free Monday has completely taken off, and a total rise in vegetarianism and veganism. So I think plant-based is a big one because, from what we're seeing in terms of the drivers, there's a lot of ethical reasons that are driving those changes. Everything from animal welfare to the effect that, farming, dairy, and animals has on the planet. And then really just the kind of perceived health benefits. So, we're all as a nation not getting enough fruit and veg. And if we can, swap out some dairy for something a bit plant-based every day, then we're kind of reaching towards those, what was 5 a day, but really should be 10 a day goals. And kind of that's where, for us, we saw the role of the juice, which was about squeezing in a kilo of pressed veg into your diet just by, consuming a 500 ml bottle. And then the same thing with our milks. They're really designed to be delicious, but not compromise on, someone who enjoys dairy. So to get that same kind of experience and plant-based nutrition and protein from a plant versus an animal. I think it's really important for brands within the wellness space to work together, particularly ones that are built on, that really value a high level of trust from the consumer. So for us, we think very carefully about the partners that we work with, because everything that we do from a product point of view is, made with, we put so many strict restrictions on ourselves about how, where our ingredients come from and our process and are they organic, that we want to make sure that we're aligning with like-minded brands. So I think really where the kind of exciting point comes within this wellness scene is when brands collaborate. So for example, for fitness studios, we don't like to just sell our milks. What we'll do is we'll say, okay, if you want to have a shake bar, so after a class, clients can, go get a protein shake. We'll work with you if you need it. Some people have their own in-house nutrition experts, but we've got our own nutritional therapists that can help design bespoke menus for kind of pre or post workouts, and we'll help you create point of sale or, kind of countertop cards. We will do things like offer free or trial classes to some of our customers near your studio. Again, so, it can be a real collaboration. And, the best case scenario is when those studios work the same way with us. And, we'll display, proudly display Plenish milks in their smoothie bar because it shows that they've, they've scrutinized their choices, because there are lots, and really picked one that is of the highest integrity. And if they, you know, when brands partner, it says a lot about each other and who they're partnering with, and that's been a great process for us.